Welcome to Keep What You Earn, a show for entrepreneurs and business owners who want to scale and build enterprise value without making costly mistakes. I'm your host, Shannon. I'm a CFO and CPA who left a career serving Fortune 50 companies in Wall Street to help business owners just like you make life-changing wealth with your business. These episodes are meant to be super tactical and actionable, but please remember, consult your own financial professional before you implement anything you learn in this podcast. Now, if you'd be interested in working with us to do so, check out the show notes for more information about our company, Keep What You Earn Co. All right, let's start the show. Hey y'all, welcome back to the show. And today is a very special episode because I get to welcome my client, friend, and overall business owner I admire, Austin Boyd, onto the show. Austin is the founder of a live print shop where they print custom t-shirts and merchandise, but do much more than that. They have this extra finishing touch of care, this high level of customer service, something that's to be admired. And today I wanted to bring Austin on the show not only as a client to share a bit of his experience and a bit of his story as a business owner, but to understand his origin, understand where he came from, and enable him to share some advice with you on how he grew his business. And it's just such a fascinating story, and I'm not going to ruin any of it in the introduction. So I want you to hear it straight from Austin. Let's dive in. Hey, Austin, welcome to the show.
Hey, Shannon, how you doing?
Great. I'm so happy to have you on because I get to share Austin with the world. I get to share this amazing client that we have and this amazing human. And I know that in the introduction, everyone just heard a little bit about what you do, but in your own words, Austin, who are you and what is a live print shop?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to sum that up real quick, but
I know.
I'm a business owner in Las Vegas, Nevada. We started a live print shop, oh my gosh, 17 years ago in my parents' garage. And so I've just been on this really cool journey of having this idea, being around entrepreneurs, growing up with my parents, and just like for whatever reason, catching the bug of just wanting to build a company. And there has been so many different waves and experiences of going through that different levels and, meeting great people. And the goal has just been to really make awesome custom t-shirts. Like that's our product. And I never imagined that making t-shirts could become this interesting or this fun or meet so many great people. But I mean, through making custom t-shirts, we've worked with Fortune 500 companies and professional sports teams and, the elementary school down the street and everything in between. And we've built a really great company over the last 17 years. And that only exists because we have really great customers. And we're just on this like mission to make great merch for people.
I love that. And so 17 years, number one. Let's talk about that, the longevity of it. And I really want to go back into why custom t-shirts, because 17 years ago, you must have been a baby.
I was 3 years old. Yeah, I was.
Obviously. So where did that start where you're like, I'm going to go build a t-shirt company?
Man, it started in the most weird way. And I don't even know if, the origin doesn't even make sense. I'm walking through school one day in ninth grade. And I had worked all summer for my parents' construction company. And like the one thing I like to do was go buy nice clothes. So I was like, cool, I bought some cool shirts, everything. I'm excited. I'm feeling original. And I walked down the hall and this kid's wearing the same exact t-shirt as me, but it ended up becoming like, we became best friends because of it. But I kind of had this thought of it would be so cool to have something unique that no one else had that, anyone could just go down to the mall and buy the same t-shirt as me. And so that kind of sparked this idea. But then these random things happened all in a row. I was supposed to go to this magnet school for math and science, and I didn't make it in. And I ended up getting this spot in this business program I didn't even know existed. So boom, business program pops up for high school. I get this old retired guy who's a teacher, and he's this old New York, insurance guy. He was not a teacher. The other teachers didn't even like him. And his whole class was just, he did not fit in with the rest of the teachers. He was this old business guy that was retired, and he was so unorthodox in a school, but he was like exactly what I needed at that time. And he allowed me to just like, oh, cool. My class will just be, we'll just brainstorm how to start a business, and we would do it. And everybody did that, but mine for some reason stuck. And I said, oh my gosh, all the kids at school, like they order t-shirts, the clubs order t-shirts, my parents' construction company ordered t-shirts. I'm going to make that as my school project. And so it started as a school project, but then I was like, I think I could maybe do this, And so And then he let me, he was like, okay, he had this great New York accent. He's like, Mr. Boyd, from now on, I'm not going to give you work. Your homework's going to be if you have sales. If you have sales, I'll give you an A. If you have no sales, I'll give you an F. He's like, that's it. You get 2 letter grades. So I had like,
Talk about like a crash course in business. This is reality. Like,
yeah, he's like, you get an A or you get an F. There's nothing in between. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
I better go sell t-shirts. And then a few things fell into place. At that same time, my 16-year-old job is running around doing errands for my parents' company, after school. And one of the places I have to go to is a t-shirt company. And their order wasn't ready. And I came back the next day and I had to pick it up in like 2 or 3 different pickups for whatever reason. It wasn't completed all at one time, which is the biggest problem in our industry is that people don't do a great job. So I'm like, how long does it take to make 100 t-shirts? Not very long. You shouldn't have to come back 3 days in a row to pick them all up. And so I end up begging those guys to come sweep the floor there for a few months. And I was just anything I could. I was just trying to learn about the industry. And it just kind of like, I almost want to say like I caught the entrepreneurship virus because I remember sitting in school and we're writing this plan and it happened. It went from my head to like my heart. And I don't know how to describe that. And then after that, I was just on this hungry journey. And then when I made my first sale and then when I, made $1,000 and then, I remember standing in line in high school and there's a line where everybody goes and pays the banker for their yearbook. And I just remember thinking, everybody's here in this line to give the banker $20 for the yearbook. I'm the only kid in this line picking up a $5,000 check. Like the school was paying me because I was doing the work. And I had not slept that night and I was probably like delirious. And then I just remember kind of thinking, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
Let's make this happen. That was worth not sleeping last night and being up
I
all night
love it.
with t-shirts. So it just started there. And then the last 17 years has just been not quitting. I mean,
Mhm.
it's that simple.
I love it. There's so much to extract out of this. Like, there's so much here, which is first of all, the dichotomy of you make a sale, you have an A, you you don't, you have an F. And I go, talk about a crash course in business and life is just like there
Yeah.
are no B, C's, and D's. Like you did it or you didn't do it. Straight
You're
up.
either profitable or you're losing money. Like
Right.
that's literally life. Yeah.
Yeah. And also in entrepreneurship, it's kind of it is that polarity of you did it or you didn't do it. There is no, well, you tried. Here's a trophy. Like, no, there's
No.
absolutely none of that. No,
No. And
no A
and,
for
and he
effort.
and he was perfect like that. I still stay in contact with him. I think I had a lunch with him about a year ago. And so
Oh,
um, very, very, very cool guy. And so
that's
yeah, I
so
mean,
cool.
these things came in place, but I also had this feeling that, I think things start falling in place when you actually start looking for them. Like when you and I had that shift about 16, 17 years old. And I believe me, I didn't have anything else figured out. I just had this like longing and I just started looking and seeking and knocking on doors. And it just seemed like things kept coming up. Was running this little t-shirt shop in my parents' garage for 2 years. First year I did $400 in sales. So luckily that was enough not to flunk out of his class.
Mhm.
Um, by junior, senior year, I think I did $50,000 a year in sales. So instantly it was like,
Yeah.
oh, there's something here. And then, just kept on it, kept looking everything. And this crazy situation happened about a year after I graduated high school where this guy went in and set up this little shop. And I mean, kind of set the whole thing up in 2,000 square feet storefront and then just decided he didn't want to do it anymore. And so I was kind of bailing him out by taking it over. And it was crazy because we didn't put very much money down. It was literally like, if you just take this over with the payments and everything, then he was able to escape. And
Mhm.
it was one of the biggest door opening. And then that was real crash course from running this little home-based business to, okay, now we got rent, now we got overhead, now we got payroll, now we got this. And then, I'm 19 years old with 3 employees. And the next 5 years were the hardest years of my life, just trying to, not die every day.
And why do you think that was? Like, the next 5 years were so hard? Was it just that high growth time?
No, it was just I was so inexperienced. I just didn't know. Like I knew we need to sell t-shirts, we need money to come in, I need to pay employees, but like I had no structure, no strategy. And I'm really glad my parents didn't bail me out. Like I'm glad they didn't come in and like, all right, we'll show you how to run a business. Like I don't know if they did it intentionally or not. I don't know if my parents went home and just started laughing together at the end of the day, like, man, he's getting his butt kicked, like this is great for him, because they went through that. And
Yeah, it's tuition.
yeah, and so they didn't overstep their boundaries. They didn't bail me out. Like I mean, it was just barely getting by for 5 years, getting to the end of the day where I paid my employees more than I got paid. Some years I'm like, I don't think I got paid at all this year. I think I worked for free, but I just knew if I kept in there, I was just trying to learn a little bit every day. And it was me. It was just being 19 years old, inexperienced, and just showing up.
But I think that lends itself to like hearing this whole story. Like I knew bits and pieces of it, but hearing that whole story, it leans into your humility as a business owner, and the fact that what I love about working with you, Austin, is that humility, which is like the opposite of ego. Like you are constantly a sponge for like, tell me things I don't know. I know I don't know things. So tell me what I need to know. I think that goes back to how many people you had as advisors to you, whether you
Yeah.
actually hired them or not. Like you were just seeking out new knowledge. Like I'll sweep the floors if I can just overhear your conversations. Like I got to absorb this stuff and accelerate my learning. And seeking that out rather than seeking out the necessarily financially lucrative opportunities, you were seeking out knowledge and saying, I need to borrow experience from people because I know I'm inexperienced. Because you started so young, you started it without any sort of ego of like, I must know this or like, I should know this by now. You're like, nah, I don't know shit. Like,
Yeah.
like, I got to figure this out.
Shannon, I felt like the crash course dummy, like I just, I mean, after slamming into the wall a few times, I'm like, I really don't know much. And
Yeah.
to me, it's not even a humility thing. It's like, that's literally how the world works. Like the moment you
Right.
start thinking you have it all figured out is usually when you nosedive, is usually when you didn't see something coming. And, after going through like COVID, oh my gosh, I thought I had my business figured out and everything had to change. But I will tell you what so much of it comes from me having, I have great parents. I have the world's best parents. And they even told me, you got to go figure this out. You need to go sweep floors somewhere. Like they were always encouraging me to do these things.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what you don't know. And the faster you learn that, it's going to be great. But I remember even, 2008, 2009, the world's falling apart, but I'm 18 years old. So I don't really quite understand that. And my mom goes on like this straight buying spree, Shannon. Like she's buying houses like they're, like they're nothing because the world is
Yeah.
falling apart. And I had this realization that if I watched the news, they said it was like end of days, like it's
Yeah.
all the worst. And my mom is just thrilled. And she's like, hey, anytime everyone's upset, that's a great time. Anytime everybody's happy, that's a great time to pull back. She's like, whatever they're doing, like it was our family motto for like a decade. Whatever anybody else is doing, we're doing the opposite. If they take vacation in the summer, we take vacation in the winter. Like if they, and because vacation in the winter is so much cheaper, like the deals are so much better.
Right.
So like, we would do everything opposite. So, and it led up to that where, when everyone was crying that the housing market was falling apart, my parents were so conservative up to that point that they had cash on hand and they're like, fantastic, let's go buying on discount. And that started shaping my mind 2008, 2009, 2010. And I kind of spent from 2010 to 2020 telling myself, I'm going to be ready the next time. Like I watched my mom buy a house for $40,000. And at 18, I had no money. So it might as well have been $1 million house. But then I thought, dang, that's a deal. I'm going to make sure I'm ready whenever the next whatever it is comes around. And I had that in the back of my mind. And when 2020 came around, whenever the world was falling apart, I kind of did the same thing. I went on a buying spree and started buying and hiring anything that I could. And also looking for experience, like who, all of a sudden people are changing roles. And I'm like, who can I bring on my team? Because the whole, economy has been disrupted because I don't have another 10 years to learn things. Like I'd rather bring on experience so that way I don't waste like so much of my life doing it the hard way.
Yeah. And COVID was also an opportunity, obviously a huge, tragic, event that happened. But in that era, I find that what your mom did too, very similar to that, is what businesses did where businesses were closing because they couldn't operate or because they suddenly hit this what is it? Warren Buffett has this saying that's like, who's swimming naked when the tide runs out. And then
Exactly.
you realize like how many people were swimming naked, and you realize how many businesses really didn't have a leg to stand on because once the flood hit, the house went
It
under,
just
and
washed out.
they were building it. The other analogy I use is building it out of sticks instead of bricks. Like when the big bad wolf came, Boom.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm trying to find people who built their houses out of sticks and be like, come on over. And we have the brick house over here, but you can go bring your expertise over here. And I was
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
picking up resources at a discount because I was like, places are shutting down because they don't know how to run a business in tough times. So I could snatch up employees at a discount, but like employees I otherwise wouldn't have afforded,
Yeah.
and things like that. And it's so true. You have to go against the tide sometimes and realize that you get stronger by swimming against the tide. And then when the good times come, it's just kind of floating. You got to be.
Exactly. That's why I think you have to like think that way is like, okay, when the stock market goes down, everyone cries. You go, you can buy at a discount. Why is everybody upset? Like
Yeah,
everything just got
and fail.
discounted. When business gets hard, who said business should ever be easy? Like
Right.
that's actually how it is. It's
Yeah.
actually difficult. It's actually hard. So then you should like save and be conservative as much as you can in the good times. Always be preparing. Like, what's funny is like right around that time too, I started kind of thinking like, I think I got this figured out. And then it went sideways. I'm like, no, okay, I got another few decades of learning that I need to do so I can be ready.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they think they have it figured out, or they're chasing that feeling of having it figured out. And I'm
Mhm.
like, as soon as you believe you have it figured out, you are in the worst position because now you're not listening for
Exactly.
the other advice, or you think you know better. And while you know your business better than anybody, at the same time, you always have to be open. You always have to have your ears and eyes open to the opportunities and to the knowledge that other people have that maybe have different experience than you do in the areas where you might be weaker. Like, there's no way. I feel like everybody has their strengths in their business, right? When you start a business, not everybody knows accounting, not everybody knows sales, not everybody knows marketing, not everybody knows the actual technical stuff. Like, you
With
just the other day, you were just like, I have no effing idea how to work the embroidery machine. Like, like, no.
I have no idea. I have no idea
Yeah.
how to do that. And that was the thing is I used to limit all my ability to what I know how to do. And so
Mhm.
that's why for the first 10 years, we only printed t-shirts. We never embroidered hats because I didn't know how to do it. And then it
Yeah.
got to the point where I kind of realized I don't, not only do I not need to know how to do everything, I shouldn't be the only person that knows how to do anything because the reason why the first from 19 to 25, the first 5 or 6 years were so difficult, it was me. I was everything. I didn't empower anybody to do more than just a task at a time. They didn't have a role. They didn't have a job. They couldn't make any decisions. I was like, okay, guys, you're going to print t-shirts. Here's your next order. Here's your next order. Phone call. I'll take the phone call. I'll build the order. I'll do this. I'll clean the bathrooms. I'll do this. I'm responsible for every single deadline and everything. It was like, it was torture. Like it was torture. I had no availability to even have another great idea because I was so consumed with every little part and I didn't understand how to empower and delegate work and be like, hey, I'm bringing you on for this responsibility, So
Yeah.
that's
Ownership.
why the next 5 or 6 years of our growth was our sales. We it's funny. The last 17 years, our sales have always been better than the previous year, 17 years in a row. Well, when you start at zero, it's really easy to be better than zero every year. You know what I mean? So like, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't hard in the beginning, but the problem was like I could sell, but it was really organizationally that I needed to grow. So that way, we weren't just adding a little bit on top. We could actually take really big steps forward.
Yeah, and I think what people don't realize is that as you scale, as you grow, because you've grown significantly in the last 17 years, right? As you said, you've, grown every single year in terms of sales, is what you have to realize is that I think as you grow, your margins deplete too, because you need more
Yeah,
support, you need more full-time help, you need to invest in the machinery, you need to be paying off loans, you need to be paying rent.
yeah,
Like, as you grow, it's not just like, oh, my margin is this in year one, and then just like multiply the sales and just multiply the margin, and like that's what I'm gonna make. No, it's you will like it's like lifestyle creep. You start spending more money the more money you make. And I
agreed.
feel like it just kind of keeps chasing you. How did you manage that too? When like, did you ever kind of have this like awakening moment of like, holy crap, my business costs a lot of money to run?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's funny. There's been pieces throughout the whole process.
Yeah,
When I'm 17 years old and my company does $50,000 in sales, and all of a sudden I'm just like, dude, I'm flush. But like
I
I'm
love
going
it.
shopping. Like I'm
Yeah,
taking all my friends out to eat, and then I get to the end of the day and I go, oh, that wasn't all my money. Like I had expenses to pay. I had to like buy the
taxes.
shirts. I had to do all this. Like I blew through the first so fast. and had nothing to show for it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
just, and so I was like, oh, so that was the beginning of it, you know? But there's this balance of, yes, it is expensive to run a company. It's also, it's expensive to build a team. These they are expenses, but I always talk to like small business owners and I'm like, I know the fear that you have to hire your first employee or second employee because it sounds expensive. But you know what's expensive is like doing it all on your own and never going to the next level. Like that's like never being around your kids is expensive. Like never having time for anything else in your life is expensive. So yes, it does. It's like when payroll can be, like a few $100,000 every month or, when stuff goes like that. Yeah, that can be expensive. But also when I had the mind shift that like, I always say this, like, I'm trying to assemble the Avengers, I'm trying to find a bunch of great people with superpowers. When you get them all together, like my favorite thing is like, I'll go on vacation and I'll come back and I'm like, oh, we made more money while I was gone than when I was here. That's fantastic. That could never happen. When you're a solopreneur, you go on vacation, you just start spending all the money you were making. And then you come back and you try to make some more, and it's like, but when you build a great team, I mean, you're building this machine that works. I mean, I came in this morning and checked something that my team had already posted and I was like, oh, they already took care of that. I was thinking about doing it. It's already done, so it's like, it's so incredible to have a team because it just maximizes and it multiplies everybody's effort.
It does. Yeah. And, you know, part of it is empowering them to make decisions without you and
Yeah.
knowing how to empower them with the guiding principles they need to make decisions as opposed to like the step-by-step recipe and guidebook. I think people can over index that, like overly go and let's say, okay, when this happens, this is the script, and when this happens, this
Yeah.
is the script. And I go, just hire good people you can trust and say, this is the guidance I want you to follow. Like acknowledge the question, respond this way, do this, and just speak from the heart and do it genuinely. And it would be fine. You don't have to follow the exact script or use the AI robots and all these things. Like you're still a very human company, which is really cool.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing too. I'm sure you can agree with this. Like Shannon, how did you find the best answers? Well, it was probably because you messed it up a few times. Like, how did you
Yeah.
learn how to do it right? How did you unless you've gone through the crap and gone through the problem, you really don't know how to solve it unless you've gone through it. So it's one, like, yes, having a good outline of, what they need to follow, but also like let people go through it. Like let them go through and, have the good, the bad, the ugly, let them go through it. And then you can keep working with them. Like, I think I feel this conviction really strongly as kind of like, as the leader is like, my job is not to go into people's offices and beat them up when something goes wrong. I
Right.
only want to hire people that care, which means they're probably already beating themselves up, if they made
Right.
a mistake. My job is to kind of go in, hey, what happened? Let's identify the source. I love working with people that take responsibility because then they go, man, that was my fault. I missed this. I didn't check. I'm never going to do that again. When I hear that and I work with those people, my job is to dust them off, pick them back up. All right, cool. Let's talk about this. And then let me help build their confidence back up so they can go and keep fighting instead of coming in and kicking them while they're down. That makes no sense.
No, it sends them backwards instead of forwards. Instead, I would say something like, okay, next time let's try it this way. I think that would go
Yeah.
better. And then now they have the guidance for next time and it's fine. And I think but you have to let them have the stakes, like let them feel like there's
Yeah.
stakes to them getting it right. Because otherwise, if you give them the training wheels and all this stuff and the harnesses, then they're not really not going to leap and jump and they're not going to challenge themselves either. So you have to, but you also have to make sure you're hiring the right people who have that attitude. Because I think that's key is like knowing the exact values and culture that you want to have so that you can infuse that in the guidance that you give.
It has to be that. It has to start with the right people. The wrong people. I heard a quote that says, if your people need a lot of training, you probably have the wrong people. Like, like
Exactly.
the right people, they have, and what they have, like when they have a good heart and they have morals and they care, you can't really infuse that in someone, and you also can't take that away from somebody. And so that was probably one of my big mistakes in the beginning was just hiring anyone who was available. And then I also realized really quick the reason why some of these people were always available is that you just weren't great people. Like if you always have nothing to do and you're always, never have a job and you're available anytime, there's probably a reason to that. Like great people are hard to find, they're rare to find, they're usually busy because they're great, and so I learned that really quick is like stop hiring from, well, in the beginning, it's like, stop hiring my friends. Well, okay, well, stop hiring people that, someone's cousin who always has free time. And it's like, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I've actually given this advice to business owners recently in our clientele, but they're like, "Oh, I'm looking for this person and we're putting up Indeeds and we're putting up all this stuff." And I go, "I hate to break it to you, but the type of person you're looking for isn't unemployed." And
Exactly.
if you think about this type of mindset, is the person you want is likely working at your competitor and crushing it. And
Yeah.
whether they're happy or not, you may not know. They may not be actively looking for work, but what you can do is you could reach out to these people, compliment them, and say, "I would really love to learn from you. I would love to learn what this looks like if I were to hire someone just like you. Would you have any advice for me?" And then see what happens. Like you have
Mhm.
to like kind of approach them and say, "I'm interested. Here's my number." Whatever. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I think people are afraid to do stuff like that, but you have to be able to curate your team in an intentional
Yeah.
way where you're not settling. And I think that's what people are settle for a warm body, and that's really one of the biggest core mistakes.
Well, also, I mean, I'm even going through this a lot now is, I really only want to, like, especially in key roles, I only want to bring people on board that have gone farther than I have.
Mhm.
And that's definitely, it's definitely not really an ego check for me, because I'm kind of over that. It's like, I'm very okay if I'm not the smartest person here, if I'm not the most experienced person here, because it's not about me. It's about the results. Like, what can we do for our customers? How can we get to our goals of continuing to build and grow? And I'm at the point now where it's like, I can keep going at these small little steps, and we have to keep learning as we go. Or we could just bring in a rock star that's been there, done that, has experience, also experienced other things, and just say, hey, how about you take this portion of it and run with it? And we're here to support you in doing that. And then to continue to do that in different areas, I go, that's really, well, I mean, going back to, like, it feels like putting the Avengers together. Every one of the superheroes in the superhero club has their own special power, and they've also
Right.
have their own backstory and their own experiences, their own battles. And if you can start kind of harnessing that to find the great marketing person and find the great this, and I've also learned it doesn't always necessarily have to be an employee; it can be a collaboration. And so that's what I'm looking for, is like, how can I attract great people? Because great people are already busy. So either,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, either trying to um, entice them to come on board, or look at collaborations and opportunities for partnerships to just move the whole thing much faster in the right direction.
Exactly. I mean, that's how we met, right?
Yeah,
That's how
exactly.
we got connected on the finance side. And I think the other part is too, maybe the person you're looking for has their own business and they offer that as a service, right? So you have to be open to hearing out all the different options of how you can hire these people, especially if employees scare you. That's why we went the fractional route.
Mhm.
Hey there, are you on LinkedIn? I love connecting with listeners and other professionals and business owners on that platform. I gotta say, I'm really enjoying it. So if we're not already connected, make sure you send me a connection request after this episode. So, one of the things I hear from business owners all the time is that they are more likely to die of indigestion than starvation. It's just kind of this common
Mhm.
phrase. I forget who quoted it, but basically, I see a lot of business owners in their early stages over investing in things like technology, software, memberships, courses, whatever. Like they're spending so much money on stuff really soon, like trying to solve all the problems right away. One of the things I thought was really interesting about you is you literally did not have a CRM system when I met you, and you had already hit like a ridiculous revenue level. And that's
You
that's a
that is
lesson
true.
though. Yeah, that's a lesson though. As I said, I really admire that like he like built this thing without the assistance of a CRM system. I mean, like, silly sometimes I think, but like I go, I'm like, why haven't you done this? But at the same time, I go, wow, if you did, you know, seven figures without a CRM system, I'm like, imagine what's gonna happen when you have one. And I was super excited about that. But I want to talk about like decisions on what to invest in those early stages and what not to, and how you navigated that, so you could build a longevity.
Well, one of the keys of not over investing is not knowing. I didn't know what a CRM system was in the beginning.
Fair.
And so, but I do got to say, we got plugged into a great software that's industry standard that helped us, build the quotes and get art approval, and it did store customer information. It just did
Right.
nothing else outside of that. And
Right.
so, but no, I think in the beginning, and this is where I think a lot of business owners can definitely get too sidetracked, is really, you need to sell products. You need to sell products. fast enough in enough volume, and you just need to sell and produce. And I think there's so many other things that people get caught up in other stuff. And I just had the pressure of having payroll and overhead and things in the beginning. And I just kind of stuck down to that. So when I started meeting, that's why sometimes you go to events and you go to stuff and man, it seems like there's these other business owners or entrepreneurs, and it seems like they have a lot of free time on their hand, and I'm kind of wondering, what do you actually do? Well, my company's kind of virtual or something like that. And I'm like, oh, I think it's still an idea. I don't think it's actually, you know what I mean, a business so many times. And I was just so plugged in of like, we're a brick and mortar. We got a real product. You got to touch and feel it. It takes real labor and people and everything like that. And I just, I was kind of just highly motivated by just overhead and payroll to just make sure the number one thing was always the number one thing. Like
Yeah.
sales almost it solves all. If you have enough sales, then all the other problems are good problems. So
Yeah.
that was kind of it.
Yeah, no, I love it. And it's such a testament to like, yeah, it's not knowing, but also there was, you weren't exactly looking for excuses to spend more money. You were focused solely on I guess, the constraint, one thing at a time, and saying, okay, I
Yeah,
got to make payroll. And then it's almost like you had survival problems and you weren't like looking for fluffy things to spend money on. And I
exactly.
actually think that's the biggest blessing is that when you have to kind of get a little scrappy in the early stages, you remember what that feels like and then you don't develop those habits.
For sure. And also a huge kind of blessing to that is my mom is, she's so good at that. I mean, she's really, really good at not getting like caught by the shiny things.
Mhm.
And her and my dad they've built a great construction company and they've done a lot of things. And she was always, in the beginning as a kid, I'm like, Mom, why are you always so cheap? And then all of a sudden 2008, 9 happens. And I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's crying and freaking out. And she's the only one that made savings her priority. She even
Right.
said, she said, new companies that they want to make sure they have a fleet of shiny trucks and they want to make sure they have all these things. She goes, we only buy used trucks for our construction company. We only do this. And then when, seems like crap finally hit the fan, she was in a position where she's like, oh, houses are only $40,000. I think I'll take a dozen, like she
Yeah.
kind of made the priority and it paid off big. And after seeing that, I'm like, oh, you don't need a lot of shiny things, like let's really
Yeah.
just make sure it works and we take care of our people and then, the results are gonna be great.
Yeah, I think, like, what a blessing to have parents who are willing to teach you those things, whether it be directly or indirectly. And I wanna talk about a bit of your knowledge on the finance side of things too, because, it's so funny because when I met you, it was just kinda this, like, "I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Jess handles a lot of this stuff. She helps me with it. Your wife is amazing." Uh, but I wanted to hear from you on, like, what that looked like from, you know, where your head was at before we started working together and what you were kind of craving by way of like the financial information, how you were consuming it and all that stuff too. Cause I think a lot about business owners can relate to kind of where you were at.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, leading up to that is we were building, I mean, 2018, 19, we were really on a roll. It took us like 10 years to hit our first $1 million in revenue. And then the next year we doubled. And then the next year we doubled, and then we're going into even when we went from 2019 to 2020, 80% of our business like evaporated, but we built back that much. Like it was crazy that 2019 and 20, we actually matched our sales and we had to do it with getting all new customers. So that was really us. Like, I feel like it was our big come up. We started really good, doing good. We took some big risks. They paid off for us. And so coming out of that was kind of, I sold some different properties and sold our building. And it was kind of the first time in my life I was like, oh wow, like we've got a decent amount of money in savings. Like now I have to figure out this is a new problem. I've never had this problem. I got to figure out what we're gonna do with it. And so we had some things we wanted to do. Like, I was like, man, I want to build a house, with my wife and these different things. And after we kind of got through those things, we still had money left over, and that was a new problem. I wasn't used Shannon, I wasn't used to that. Like, I wasn't used to that at all, and I was like, "Oh, we gotta get better." My wife has been phenomenal helping me every step of the way, but I could tell we took some big steps, and it was like, I think we our sales and our production had scaled up, and I go, "Now I think our finance and our help and our admin, that part needs to grow too." And right at the same time, we decided to launch another business, and so we got into the laser med spa. So which means my wife, who's been all my admin, I was about to lose her from that position. And I was kind of in this position like, oh man, maybe this will be an opportunity. Maybe this will be an opportunity to kind of bring a full-time person or like something that somebody that really knows this. And it just so happens that me and you both go to a conference, and we had such a fun time at that conference because I think like I'm downloading all this information. I'm like elbowing you, Shannon, what do you think about that? Shannon, what do you think about that? Like, oh,
Yeah.
Shannon, what do you think about that? Because all I had done really up to that point is just get my, my monthly statement. And my mom kind of taught me this: just go line item by line item, and just realize if you actually needed to spend that much money. And that's literally was the full extent of my, my financial ability, is going through and be
Mhm.
like, all right, what is this? Did we need to spend $500 on office expenses? What is this? You know, I think up until 2 years ago, we had zero marketing. We never spent money on marketing. So I wasn't even in a position to know what levers do I need to pull and what things do I need to watch. And so that was kind of, it. And here's the thing is, my wife learned her bookkeeping skills working at her parents' dry cleaners growing up. So there was a nice base level, but we kind of got to the point where I'm like, hey, we just did, we just did a few $1 million in revenue. We kind of need help in in this area so we can continue to grow. So that way, when we go break 10 million, break 15 million, we're not just doing it off what we like, you
Haphazard.
know, yeah, like a whim, oh, I feel like we're making money, like I feel like it just sounds like we really need like really clear statements and we need some help. And it just happened that was all happening. I met you at a conference and me and you just kind of hit it off great. And
Mhm.
with me and you, and we kind of formed this cool little group of what it was like 7 or 8 people,
Yeah.
and we'd all go to dinner after night after each day. We're just trying to download everything that we heard, and we're bouncing ideas off each other. And then I come back to my wife and I said, "Hey, I've got the weirdest idea. I just met this lady I don't know. I think we should, I think they're a fractional CFO. I think I know what that is. I think we should talk to them about coming on to help because you're going to go to your thing, which means, Laser Skin Lounge is going to need help with finance. A live print shop's going to need help with finance." I go, like, I think it's time that we level up. And so that's kind of
Yeah.
what started our working relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And did you know what a fractional CFO was before you met me at the conference?
I think I had a vague idea. I had talked
Okay.
to people about, and I only knew it in the sense of like a fractional, like marketing, because I know there was different
Mhm.
marketing people that, as we were kind of trying to get help running ads and doing different things like that, some people would kind of, they would kind of posture themselves as like, "We'll be your fractional CMO." And I look
Mhm.
back and honestly, it was just a posture. Like it was just a sales tactic.
Yeah.
And so I had the
Yeah.
idea, but then I go, well, maybe this would make sense with the right person, because I said we do really need to have the right, like we do really need to have a CFO, and we do need a COO, and we do need, these different positions if we're going to grow and scale into a, 15, 20, $25 million company. And
Right.
so, but also I feel like in the way that I met you, I go, yeah, like I think not only can we bring someone in, but Shannon can also help us learn what we don't know. And so that's what got me really excited about it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the theme I'm hearing on Austin, honestly, is like you seek out the things you don't know. And if you see somebody who seems to know something you don't, you like latch on to them and you go, oh, I want to be around you and hear more about this. I think a lot of people shy away from those things because it's unfamiliar. So they're like, oh, like
Yeah.
you do your thing. I'll be over here. Like, I don't want to deal with that. But you kind of like, you actually go the other way. It's like what you've been saying this whole time about going the opposite direction of other people. Like you actually go toward the thing that you don't know. And you're like, I want more of that. And it's like, welcome to the secret, guys. This is the secret to success is like going toward the thing you don't know and just going, I don't understand this. I don't need to understand all of it, but I want to understand more about how you see it. I want
Yeah.
to be around you. I want to be enveloped in this language just to be hearing it more often, like immerse myself in it. And I don't need to know the details as to why. I just need to be able to communicate and be able to understand what it is you guys do. And that was really the approach you took with talking to us too, was just like, hey, I don't know what I don't know, but I know I don't know this. Like I I need to figure this
Well,
out.
what's funny? And you were not even talking to me as like a potential customer. We were just, or, client, we were just talking about like the
Right.
event and downloading all the stuff we heard. And you
Yeah.
said something and it was so true. And you're like, hey, most of the time your tax guy or whoever you go see, you're like, it's kind of like a one night stand fling. Like you see them just for April and they get their taxes over and you're like that they don't want to be more than that. They don't want to really be involved in your business and they don't really want you calling them that much. And that was the exact situation I was in. I'm like,
Yeah.
I got a guy I file my taxes with, but outside of that, it feels like I'm always bothering them, you know? And I was like, I need more help. But I think what has been where I kind of solidified this idea is I just got to the point where I know it's uncomfortable to go and, try to find things and put myself in a position where, I'm having to learn and everything. But it's more uncomfortable to fail. Like it's more uncomfortable for me to end up where I don't want to be. And like it's more uncomfortable for me to like just, in my life, like at the point where I go, oh my gosh, I didn't accomplish what I wanted. I didn't do these different things. And I kind of take that point of view because I don't think I was naturally an outgoing person. Like my mom's told me like her earliest, memory was like there was some kids driving by our house and some bicycles and I wanted to play with them, but I didn't know how to start that conversation. So I decided the next best thing was to throw rocks at them. And so, you know what I mean? Like I didn't know how
Oh,
to engage. And so my mom says I'm over there in the front yard throwing rocks at these kids. And she's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, she grabs the kids and grabs me and she goes, hey, Austin, go show them the swing set in the backyard. And then she said, I played with these kids for 4 hours, And it was almost
yeah.
like a lot of people, that's why people don't like being outgoing. That's why they don't want to make the cold call. That's why all this stuff is they go, oh my gosh, it's scary to do that thing. But what I realized is like all of the great things are on the other side of that scary doorway. Like uncomfortability is just the gateway and the doorway to walk into whatever your next is. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm willing. I'm willing to be uncomfortable because I know the payoff is going to be so good on the other side.
Yeah, that's what makes you a successful business owner. That's also what makes you a good client because you're also willing to do those things without trying to shortcut or trying to cut corners, and you're willing to go through the muck to get to the other side. We want to avoid it as much as possible, but of course, like you're willing to do what's necessary to get to that next stage of growth, which is a huge thing for a business owner. Um, as I mentioned before, like I could talk to you all day. We basically do sometimes. But I wanna wrap things up here and just tell people, okay, here's the thing, and I mean this wholeheartedly, Austin is my client. We do have his merch. I do love his merch. We have Keep What You Earn sweatshirts, we have Keep What You Earn, backpacks and, laptop totes and things like that, like, amazing quality. I'm gonna be going back to Austin time and time again for all of our merch, and I would encourage you to do the same. Check out Austin's business. It's a live print shop. We're gonna put all the links in the show notes. Is there any specific place, Austin, you want folks to go after listening to this to learn more about what you do?
No, that's the best place. We just launched this
Okay,
awesome new online ordering platform. It makes it so easy because that's usually people's biggest struggle is they want great merch for their business. They just don't know how to start. Our
right.
website solves all of that. And then we have an incredible team of support that helps them every step of the way.
Yeah, they've been amazing. It's like the most personal touch I've ever had from this type of company in terms of seeing the design, seeing the mock-up, and being able to actually approve it. And then also the MOQs are pretty low, right?
Yeah, they're not high. I mean, we start with 24 pieces. So
Right.
most of the time, for a team, especially when it's promotional items and you're giving it away, 24 is a great place to start. And then really great price discounts. They jump in at different price breaks when you order more.
Yeah, it's amazing, and they're super reliable, super quick, and communicate with you every step of the way, so check them out at a live print shop. All the links will be in the show notes to learn more about Austin and learn more about the company. Austin, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Shannon. You are the best.
When it comes to scaling your business, your core offer is the foundation of your success. If you're finding that your margins aren't exactly supporting the cost of running your business, well, it's worth taking a closer look at your pricing strategy and your direct costs to hack it and figure out what your constraint is. Sometimes all it takes is small adjustments, like fine-tuning your pricing or streamlining your expenses. These can make a huge difference. Join me for a power session and let's dive deeper into the profitability of your core offer. All the information is in the show notes below.